Hi, it's Jerry with I Love RV Life. I've been wanting to look at a big battery for our RV for some time. We've looked at 200 amp and 300 amp. First time we've looked at a 5,888 watt hour battery. Yep, that's right. This Vatrer is 560 amp hours. Let's give this thing a good hard test and see how it's going to work for us. Hi, it's Jerry. I have been looking at batteries throughout this RV season, and this is going to be the last one that we are going to look at for this calendar year. We've looked at 100 amp, we've looked at some 200 amp, we've even looked at 300 amp hour, but this is the first 460 amp hour battery that we have had an opportunity to look at. Vatrer contacted us and sent us this model. It is a 12.8 volt battery. It is 460 watt hours. It does, this is where it gets crazy. This is calculated at 5,888 watt hours. It's got low temperature disconnect. So we're going to put this thing through the paces. Now before I put it in the camper and do my typical, what I call practical test, I'm going to go ahead and put some stress on it and kind of check its specifications and see how it works. So this is a 12.8 volt battery, and it is 460 amp hours. Charging voltage, as with most lithium batteries, is 14.2 volts to 14.6 volts. It does tip the scale at 104 pounds. And I mentioned earlier, the energy of this battery is 5,888 watt hours. Now the continuous charging current for this, a max, is 120 amps. If you have something like that to put into it, this is supposed to handle that. And your total discharge is 250 amps. We're going to see how close we can get to that. And the recommended charge current is 92 amps. They say the maximum inverter load for this is 3,200 watts, and we've got a 3,000 watt inverter. They state it has low temperature cutoff protection for charging at 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0C, and they also state that they have low temperature cutoff protection in a discharge state, which is a -4 Fahrenheit or -20C. The battery dimensions really are quite surprising for a battery of this capacity. It is roughly 19 inches by 11 inches by 10 inches, so it's really a compact package. The specifications state that it can support an inverter up to 3,200 watts. So I have a 3,000 watt pure sine wave inverter that's located here, and I've gone ahead and connected it to the battery. And I've just got two simple things that I'll show you that I'll hook up to it. One is a heat gun that draws about 1,650 watts. So that'll be, you know, a little bit over half the capacity. And then I've got a hair dryer that goes up to 1,850. So I'm going to probably put it on the low setting. We'll see. I'm sure that if I go over that, the inverters are going to shut down, not the battery BMS. The inverter won't handle much more over 3,000. We'll probably get it for just a few minutes. But I've also got a clamp-on meter here that we can see what the wattage is going into this. Now, it's going to be substantial. It takes a lot of DC watts to make some AC watts. So I think that'll be an interesting test as well. So let's get this thing going and see how it's going to behave. All right, here's the 3,000 watt inverter. I've already turned the power on. Let's get some power on the inverter. And we're off. We're at 1,670 watts again. Pretty hot again. I've got this running for a second try. The inverter got too hot and disconnected, but we're running at 1,650 watts. I'll start this on low with the hair dryer. That's going to put it at 890, roughly 880, 870, 1870 to 1880 watts. You'll see that we're pulling 210 amps. I'm going to go ahead and move it on up to 269 amps and a total of 2,900 watts. I can't get any higher than that. I don't have enough things to plug in. Pretty hot. I don't know why the inverter just got, it wasn't happy, but it disconnected. The battery's doing fine. It's doing fine. 2,880 watts, and the battery's doing fine at 268. So this makes me happy that I can run things like an 1,800 watt microwave, keep the refrigerator running, those types of things. So it's doing fine, doing fine. So I've discharged a good bit of capacity out of this battery. So to give it what I call the practical test to go forward, this is where I hook it up inside the fifth wheel, and then I'm going to do the typical tests that I normally do with our batteries. These are what I call tow and overnights, to where we are not running an air conditioner, but we are just going to do our normal RV life, and that will be running our refrigerator for a period of time. I'm going to run TV as though we would be parked at, say, a Harvest Host. Depending on the capacity, I'll be using our smart shunt to see how much capacity we have left over, and then also the inverter will show us the voltage as well. We'll see how much is left over. I'll do things like make toast, make coffee the next morning, do those types of things as we would be prepared to leave again. And then I'm going to let it, just see if it'll run another 6 to 8 hours. So this is actually probably, this test is going to go over about a 12 to 18 hour period. So the next thing you'll do, I'll have to charge this. I've only got a 20 amp charger, so it'll take me a little while to get this charged back up. So tomorrow we'll get it hooked up. We'll see how this thing is going to behave. I'm actually looking forward to seeing what this is going to do. A 460 amp hour battery. Let's beat this thing up. It's day 2 to test our 460 amp hour Vatrer lithium battery. 5,888 watt hours. Wow, what a monster. I'm excited about this. It's going to be a standalone test only. So let's go outside and I'll show you where I have it installed. Then we're going to check our Victron apps, both the solar charger, make sure it's turned off, and then we'll make sure our smart shunt is set up properly. And we'll get started with this test. I'll be back in just a minute. Well, let's start with the installation of the battery. Here it is, all 106 pounds of this. Again, I really like this where we have it installed in the bay. I think it's going to do very, very well in cold temperatures, even though this does have low temperature disconnect. I'm pretty pleased with that. So we've got our big 3-aught cables coming to this monster. I really like the construction too. This is all metal case. The Vatrer is really well made, and I'm pretty pleased with that. All right, let's check the shunt and make sure that everything is set up. You'll also notice I do have solar, but it's turned off, and I will show you that in the app in just a second. So at this stage, we've got the power turned off, and we are going to start our testing. Let's look at our solar controller. That should be turned off. I don't want any input coming into this device while we do our testing. This is going to be a standalone battery only. We'll go to our settings here. We'll go to battery. And we do see, if you look at charger enabled, 3 steps down. And up at the top it says enable charger. So we do have the charger turned off. Nothing's coming into it. Let's also go to our smart shunt and make sure that we have it set up properly. It should be showing 100%. It is 100%. We'll go to our settings here. We'll go to battery. You see up at the top that I do have it set for 460 amp hours. I have charged this last night and I have it up to 100% after our testing. I have synchronized it at 100% and I'm showing the state of charge at 100%. So the smart shunt will validate this with a handheld amp meter, but and a voltometer as we go through this over the next 2 days. But we'll make sure that everything is as it should be. So we're at 100%. Let's get started with our test. This is going to go for 2 days, at least 2 days, that we'll be going back and forth. So I have the fifth wheel set up as though we'll be traveling. Let me give you a real quick scenario. I'll go through this fast. I'm going to do a 6 to 7 hour drive. That's what I'm going to simulate. We'll bring the slides in. I've got the refrigerator back there running. And that'll be all that will be going on. That's a typical tow for us. We typically run in that range. We've gone longer, but we'll do that and see how it goes. Then I'll come back late this afternoon. It's almost 9 o'clock. We'll come back late this afternoon. And then I am going to simulate what it would be like when we stop at a Harvest Host. So for about 5, 6, 7 hours, we'll just see how things go. We'll run the slides back out, turn TV on, you know, do a few things like that. I'll probably see if, depending on the temperature here in the southeast, it's going to get a little warm today. I'll probably open the windows and turn the max air fans on, let them run a little bit. That's typical for us. It's just a regular day. And we'll let that go till probably about 10 o'clock tonight. That's what that would look like. And then everything goes off. And I will see you day 2 for the next part, which would be rolling everything back in and doing another 6 or 7 hours. So this is going to take a couple days to get all this done. During this period of time, we will have 0 input of charging. I've got the solar cut off, and we are just going to let this thing run as is. So let's go ahead and roll everything in and get this test started. Before we get started, let's just double check the refrigerator, make sure that it's running, and then we'll check the app here in just a second. So it is running, and I have it running cold too. So it's, let's see what we've got here. Can we make this out? It's 37 degrees in the refrigerator, and the refrigerator's running 0. So this is typically what we do, not only in our travels, but when we have, you know, using this while we're out on the road. So let's get these slides in. Love these heavy-duty hydraulic slides. They are so fast, but they pull a lot of power. The other thing I want to see too is power sag. So I can see that by our meter that we have here from our Magnum Dimensions inverter. So we're currently showing it's bouncing between 13 volts and 13.1. So let's see what happens as I bring in the other slide. And you see a little bit of voltage sag, not much, from 13.1 to 12.1. That's both wiring and everything else. All right, so we are rolled in. Everything is in. This will be as though we are going to be traveling. I'm going to close everything up, and we are going to simulate this for about the next 6, 7 hours. And I'll see you back later on this afternoon. It's been a few hours. Let's go ahead and get our slides back out. Big slide number 1. And the other thing, you'll see the difference that's occurred here. During slide out the sag, we're down to 12.9. There we go. Still running 13.1 here. That's not too bad. I've run the slides out. Let's look at the time. Okay, it's 5 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock. Let's pull the phone out and check the Victron app real quick and just see where we're standing. All right, let's see what 7.5 hours of use looks like. We'll look at our shunt. And it's reporting, okay, that is not bad. 84%. We still have a draw going on for a couple reasons, and I'll explain that. But the voltage is still extraordinary, 13.2 volts. And we are still running about 11 amps of usage with all the other things going on right now. Look at this, the power consumed so far has been 77 amp hours. I'm pretty impressed with this GE refrigerator, residential refrigerator. All right, let's recap this, and then we're going to start some additional testing. Well, that's not bad. It being 5 o'clock, we're running 7.5 hours. So what that would look like is a 7.5 hour tow. That's not unrealistic, maybe a little longer than what we normally do. I mean, we've done them as long as 14 hours, but 7.5 hours. Now, what was running? The main thing that was running is that residential refrigerator. And that's running through an inverter. So if you're familiar with this, even though we may have moderate amperage coming from the refrigerator demand, it takes more amperage coming out of the battery than the amperage consumed by the refrigerator. To convert that, it takes a lot more DC to make the AC. Just trying to make this very, very simple. I think the efficiency factor of that inverter is roughly about 90%, something like that, 85–90%. So we've been burning a good bit of power, but even when you saw the total amp hour burn, it wasn't bad. The other two things that was going on, we've got a couple max air fans in here, and I have them set on to come on at 80 degrees. So that's exactly what they did. One has turned off now for the video here, and there's another one in the back, or in the master bathroom, which is still running. So we had that current that's going on. All right, so here's what we're going to do from here. In what I'll call an overnight stop to our final destination, an A to B to C. We're at the B location. This is going to be what we would do at a harvest host during more comfortable temperatures. We would do this in the fall, the winter, or the spring before it gets too hot. So we would stop there overnight. And we're going to be battery only. We're going to be self-contained. We'll be using the water pump and those types of things. You saw me run the slides out. In the morning, we'll run the slides back in to go to our next destination. But what we would be doing, we wouldn't be going anywhere. We would probably go up to the, if it's a vineyard or a brewery, we would probably go up there and get a glass of wine, or if they'd have something to eat, we might eat there. Or we'll fix something over here on the propane stove. And we won't be running the microwave, not on this inverter. I will watch some TV probably till, well, let's just say 11 o'clock tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the TV on. And this TV, we also have a Roku. So I think I've got a channel set here so I don't get copyright. It's going to be a shopping channel. We'll go ahead and get this turned on.
It was National Gemstone.
Yes!
And it display.
Okay. So I'm going to just leave the TV going on till 11 o'clock tonight. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 6 hours we're going to be running. And I'll turn the sound back on so the Roku will be consuming power, the TV. Now, that's the interesting thing I need to share here. How are we doing that? Well, this inverter has not only the refrigerator, but we've got a series of accessory outlets. So the TV is on those accessory outlet. Right over here by the stove, I've got an accessory outlet that's located over here. I've got a toaster and a coffee pot that I'll be using in the morning if we still have battery power, which I think we will. I'm going to turn the max air fans back on because I've got the windows open, getting some nice cool air in here this evening, so that'll be really nice. Kind of get that temperature at a little bit more realistic, comfortable mode. And again, it looks just like what we would be doing at a Harvest Host location. So we'll go for 6 hours. Then what I'll do is I'll shut everything down. We'll assume we're going to bed tonight. The lights will be off, TVs will be off, the refrigerator will still be running. And then in the morning, we'll see how much power is left, and we'll see if we have enough to make breakfast, and then we'll simulate another long tow. And I might make this one a really long one if the battery can sustain it. We'll see what happens. Okay, I'll see you back at 11 o'clock tonight. All right, enough shopping channel. I think that's good. All right, it's 11, it's a little bit after 11 o'clock, so it's still late on the first big test day. So let's check that app and look at that smart shunt and see what kind of reading we've got. All right, so we can see that TVs and lights do pull down a good bit more power. I expected that. 59%, so you're looking at consumed 192 amp hours total since, what, 8:30 this morning? And look at the battery. We're still at 13.7, so I'm not going to be too concerned with that 59% rating, especially when we're seeing that voltage as 13.7. That might be an issue with the shunt and me not having it exactly set up. We'll see. We'll see. All right, let's kind of recap the night, and then take the next steps. It's a little bit past 11 o'clock. It's bedtime. I'm going to shut everything down. The only thing that will be running tonight will be the refrigerator. So I'll come out sometime early in the morning. We'll see where we're at. I think with the evening cooling off a bit, the camper is a little bit more comfortable on the inside. That refrigerator's not going to have to run as hard. And these LED lights that you see on, they hardly pull anything, so very, very quiet. If we have enough battery left, this would be the evaluation that I'll look at. If I have enough battery left, then I'll make some coffee, some toast, and those types of things. Those will be AC devices. Those are in the 600 to 800 watt range, so they'll use a good bit of power. Run the slides back in, and then I'm going to debate on how long to let this thing run during the day tomorrow. I might simulate a very, very long tow. Let's just see what happens. I'll see you in the morning, bright and early. 8:30 in the morning, so that's been 9.5 hours since last night. So before we do anything else, let's check the smart shunt. But one thing that I haven't talked about is the Bluetooth function. The BMS, the battery management system that is part of this Vatrer battery, does have a Bluetooth app. Now, again, you're going to go out to the website. You're not going to find a whole lot of information about it. The big issue is going to the back of the manual that we have here, and they state to go to either your Android app or your iPhone applications, and you have to do a search for Xiaozang. Now that is spelled Xiaoxiang, and it will pull up the app. It'll be the Xiaozang BMS, so you want to download that one. There's a couple different Xiaozangs that's in there, and it's great. It works perfect. It loads super fast, and then when you find your battery, it's going to show other BMSs. I happen to have another one that's out there. It will show some other BMSs that's out there, but once you pull that thing up, bang, it happens very, very fast. It'll give us some good information. So now we've been running since yesterday morning around 9 o'clock. It's been, almost 24 hours with zero input in on this battery. We've really been putting this through the paces. Let's see both what the BMS app shows, and let's compare that against the smart shunt and see if we're close. All right, let's look at the BMS and see what this actually looks like. Here's the app. We're going to go ahead and pop this. Loads pretty quick. And of course we're going to get some ads. There we go. So hey, that's not bad. Again, we're gonna match this against the smart shunt, but they're saying 45%, 13.11 volts. That's still very, very high. What I'm really liking, look down toward the bottom, and you can see the 4 cells, relatively balanced. Cell number 4, just a tad high. And there's something, and I'm not going to do it in the middle of the test. I can toggle the balancer. And I'll probably do that after the fact. But yeah, I like this. This is very, very nice. Very, very nice. And you can see what the power demand is right now, which is nothing. The refrigerator's not running. It will be. But we're pulling 40 watts. That's probably, I call that vampire voltage. We've got some USB charging ports in there, and that's probably those right now with no power pulled on them. It's going to be my guess, but that's not too bad. 45% left over. Wow, we've really been putting this through the paces. All right, let's make a comparison of this against the Victron Smart Shunt and just see how close they are. All right, we'll open this up, see what the Victron Smart Shunt looks like. And I got a feeling I can kind of see it here already. There, look at that. All right, so we're within 1%. I'm pretty pleased with these smart shunts are great. I can't say enough about these Victron smart shunts, but we're within 1% of its calculation, and we're within roughly 1/10 of a volt showing that. And look at your wattage. The wattage is about the same. Now, amp hours consumed, 266 amp hours so far. How about that? They match within 1%. So I'm pretty pleased with that. So I'm happy with Victron, that they're doing the job they're supposed to be doing, and I've got it set up properly. And the BMS itself is being able to report. So if you do not have that smart shunt, then you can easily monitor the battery performance. Now I will mention this, that BMS is in a battery case. So from where I'm standing here, I cannot gain access to the Bluetooth. It's just too much interference between there and here. But if I go out and stand within, I think, 4 or 5 feet of that battery, I can read it without any problem whatsoever. Probably if I go up to the bedroom, it might read through the bedroom floor because the battery's right up underneath it. I might be able to see it out there, but I was able to go outside and read it without any problem whatsoever. So what we're going to do now, since we have so much capacity left in this BMS, we're going to really pop it pretty hard. One of the things I really like about our Montana is the options that we have in our LED lighting, and that even becomes more important when you're starting to look at boondocking. First of all, it is LED, so the power consumption is itty bitty teeny. Doesn't pull a whole lot as well. And then we can kind of turn the lights off and on as we need, so we don't have to light the whole thing up. But right now, you can see, I mean, from a camera perspective, the lighting is really good. All right, so let's talk about what we've got right here. We've got the lights on for filming, and we'd be making breakfast. Usually when Joan and I travel, we eat pretty light before we leave. We'll fix us both a cup of coffee and maybe a muffin with some honey on it, English muffin, and then maybe a Greek yogurt. So that's perfect for the boondocking travel that we do. I talked about this yesterday. This is an accessory light that's working off our inverter. It's the same. It's a different connection, but we have the refrigerator, we have this, we have the entertainment center, we even have our theater chairs. They're AC. They work off of that as well. I know. It's when you talk about RV life, it probably gets a little out of control. All right, so this is a Black & Decker single serve coffee maker. I don't think this one's made anymore. They've made a big brother to it. It's a little bit different. I like it for 2 reasons. One, it makes an awesome cup of coffee. And number 2, the wattage is not as high as a big coffee maker. And then I've just got a standard, I think this is a Hamilton Beach. Yeah, this is one of those Walmart specials. So what I'll do is, we've already run the BMS a minute ago. This refrigerator, I don't think it's running right now, but it could cycle off and on during this process while we make the couple cups of coffee. We will look at the smart shunt and just see how much power. So it is going to take a good bit of power. I think this is 600 and something watts, and I think this is 800 and something watts, something like that. All right, so let's get us some coffee started. All right, start the coffee pot, get our muffins going. All right, let's see what that BMS looks like. All right, let's look at our Victron app here. Smart shunt. I can hear the fan running on the inverter from inside here. It's kind of quiet inside. Yeah, that's a big difference. So we've already gone through a couple percent. What, 1,670 and change watts. So we're really kicking some amperage out of this thing, as I expected. So when you look at the two things together, roughly about 800 watts apiece for both the coffee maker and the toaster. And I still have some headroom on this 2,000 watt inverter that probably if the refrigerator comes on, it's going to get pretty close. It might actually trip it out, but we'll see what happens here. All right, let's go finish. There you go. I just heard the toaster finish. You actually saw that happen here. I heard it pop. And all right, let's finish up with our coffee, and then we'll close everything up and head down the road. All right, let's start the next one. While we're waiting on that, I'm going to enjoy me a cup of coffee. Take us just a minute. All right, we're hearing the final bubbles of our Black & Decker. This is actually called a Brew and Go. I called it something else, but it's a Brew and Go. Yeah, I wish they still made Black & Decker. Please bring these back. Love these things. I need a spare just in case. All right. Breakfast is served. So at this stage, we would get ready to head on out the door. We've got coffee in hand, we've got English muffin in hand, we've got our Greek yogurts, and we're ready to head out and travel. So next thing that we'll do, roll the slides in, as though we're getting ready to leave, get the jacks rolled up, and then let's check this smart shunt one more time and just see what the consumption's been. I'm hearing the refrigerator run right now. So we'll probably see that going, and just see what the coffee pot making 2 cups of coffee did to the battery. That inverter running. I hear that this fan's not running any longer, and also running that Hamilton Beach toaster. And so again, making breakfast before we hit the road. All right, let's check this Victron shunt one last time before we close it down. Again, we use 5%, roughly 5% of the battery to make the 2 coffees and toast our English muffin. That wasn't too bad. We're still sitting at a little over 13 volts. We have a ton of power left. So I've got the slides rolled in. A refrigerator, you can see how efficient this refrigerator is, running, what, 143, we'll just say 140 on an average of power for that refrigerator to run. So it's going to be cycling off and on throughout the day. I'm going to see you late this afternoon. So I'm going to simulate a long tow. It is currently 9 a.m. So I'll see you late this afternoon. We'll just see how much battery is left with 0 input, 0 solar. We're just going to go ahead and let this thing rock and roll. All right, it's a little after 5 o'clock. So we've been doing this test now for 36 hours, 3 days total, from the basic test of just seeing what the BMS could handle as far as a power demand. And then, of course, these past 2 days, 36 hours, of just really putting this through a practical test. So let's grab the phone here, let's check the apps, and just see where we're at after all this testing. All right, final look at our power requirements and how much we've used. So this is going to be the smart shunt. And we are at 26%. So I actually find this quite amazing. After 36 hours, we're just 1% over a quarter remaining in this battery. You can look at this, 351 amp hours consumed. Refrigerator's running right now. That's the reason you're seeing it's around 200 watts. About 15 amps being drawn. While we're at it, let's go ahead and look at the BMS and just kind of double verify what we're looking at here. Again, we're within 1% of the smart shunt. We're seeing here 27%. Voltage is still fantastic at 12.99 volts, almost 13 volts. Well, I find that very promising. This Vatrer battery is really quite the beast. 460 amp hours, 5,888 watt hours. Really, I'm very surprised. A lot of times these batteries, these Bluetooth apps, are a bit, I just call them persnickety, troublesome, and this one was just point, click, bang. It has just been absolutely wonderful to work with. So glad to see that. Congratulations to the BMS provider who is doing this. Zhao Zhang, I believe it is. So again, just really quite a beating that we put on this. Again, zero input as far as solar panels or any other form, generators, anything to charge this battery back up. So today, if we were to look at this as a tow, we're talking about a 10-hour tow. That is a bruiser. And we've done them many times before, but this would have been a 10-hour tow, getting to the location. Again, still haven't hooked anything up, running the slides out, getting everything leveled up, and then we just still have 26% of this battery still available if we needed it for anything else. In other words, while we were setting up, if I was needing to do some things before I got the power. You know, Joan could get the lights on, she could do a lot of other stuff around here, and you know, we could get our routers going, she could get the TV going, you know, get the kitties settled, all those things for the next hour or two, and still had ample power to probably get us into the evening if we needed to do that. So it's really a fantastic battery. Here's some of the reasons why I like using these large format batteries so much versus chaining a bunch of, say, 100 amps or 200 amps. So it's a 460 amp battery. That's almost, not quite, almost the equivalent of having 5 lithium batteries tied together, less a few amps. And when you're looking at the real estate that I showed you earlier in the video, you know, it just takes up a small area within our bay to be able to take care of that. And then when you look at the weight factor is quite surprising. This is almost 106, 107 pound battery. So if you were to look at 5 of those batteries, 100 amp, then you would be looking at something substantially more. Or, you know, again, the math doesn't work if you tried to use a bunch of 200 amps, you know, you'd be up to 600 amps. So if you're looking at something like that, this is a great application for not consuming a lot of your RV space, yet having a substantial amount of power. And again, we showed the heavy drain on it. I mean, we pushed coffee pots and toasters and refrigerators. And then even when we were in the workshop, I put, what was it, almost 3,000 watts between a 1,850 watt reported hair dryer, it wasn't quite that much, and a heat gun. So, you know, put a lot of stress on it to work from that perspective. Now they're saying to charge this, it can handle up to a maximum of 95, or they recommend 95 amps. I don't have that. I can get about 50 out of my solar. I am going to be upgrading my solar right now. I'm currently at 220 watts, and I'll be having a project later on this year where I'm going to be putting, I think, probably around 600. I'm not going to cover the whole roof of the fifth wheel and solar panels. I just don't need it. I'll probably put about 600-ish, somewhere thereabouts, what I'm looking at right now. So that's going to be a nice boost of being able to keep my batteries up to snuff when we're out here traveling. So it'll be very nice. Even though over for 36 hours on all this use, I didn't even need it. The other thing too is my onboard converter charger. My Progressive Dynamics will do, I think, 75 amps. So I'm going to be able to get this battery recovered pretty quick just by plugging into shore power or running my generator if I needed to be able to do that. So I've got a 3,500 watt generator that I can run to supplement the battery if I ever need to do something like that as well. Now, I don't use it that much though, because I always have big batteries to use. All right, if you're interested in getting a battery, they've got a number of batteries that Vatrer offers in all kinds of price ranges, all kind of amperage from 100 up to the big boy 460. They've got them with and without, temperature control, heated, etc. And then they've got a wide line of a number of other accessories that you can get as well. I'm very impressed with this. I must tell you, I'm very impressed that we could get this kind of usage out of this battery for our lifestyle, for our specific lifestyle. And if you have something similar, or you're looking at being able to upgrade your battery bank, and you're looking at something for 460 watts at a very good price performance, you may want to consider this product. And I will leave links in our description of this YouTube video. I will also put out some more specifications. You can go to ilovervlife.com, and I have some specifications and links there as well. And I am going to be using this battery at least for the next 6 months heavily. We're going to be leaving here just a couple weeks, doing some travel up into the mountains. This will be our battery that we're going to use, and then we're going to be doing some traveling starting in December. And it'll be our battery that we'll use during that period as well. And I might be having some other things in store, such as maybe possibly an upgrade to our inverter, but that's further down the road. That we're going to look at adding some other devices. I kind of want to get that microwave on the inverter as well, and I can't do it with the existing one that I have. So I'm looking at doing some projects such as that. And this 460 amp hour battery is going to be ideal to be able to meet those power demands. Well, I hope you found this long video, it is a long video, that has spanned over 3 days. I hope you find this helpful. I enjoy looking at trying to find products that can enhance our RV lifestyle, and I hope you found that this is one of those. And I look forward to seeing you in a campground soon, because you know why? I hope, just like me, I love RV life, and I hope you do too. See you soon.